Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already and drop a like on this video. I am trying to hit 100k subscribers on the channel by the end of the year, so your subscription will be much appreciated. Also drop a like, only takes 1 second, makes a massive difference. Also go check out my newest deep dive if you have not already. Link in the description, pinned comment, card above, all that. That said, hot takes, let's get into it. DeJounte Murray has been playing at an all-star level this season. You know, if DeJounte's scoring was like solidly efficient at his 19 points per game that he's averaging right now, I would go with that, sure. But the Spurs are really bad, and he's averaging 19 points on 18 shots. So while the defense, the playmaking, the rebounding is all fantastic, right now he is averaging a near triple-double. Because his efficiency scoring the ball is so bad, I'm not going to quite slot him in as an all-star. That said, his scoring has gotten better as the years have gone on, but if he can just clean up that efficiency a little bit, if the three ball can finally just go in at like a league average rate, DeJounte is just an amazing player. But until he loses that flaw, I don't think he's quite an all-star caliber guy yet, at least so long as the Spurs are one of the worst teams in the NBA. If the Spurs are really good right now, I'd probably give it to you. Desmond Bane has been your most correct draft prediction. My most correct official draft prediction, I was actually very adamant that Josh Jackson, that's the guy, right? He was not going to be good. For that 2017 class. I had a couple of videos where I hinted at that being my opinion, but I didn't really go too hard. I never made a video specifically about it, but I just did not believe that Josh Jackson was going to be very good, and he was not. So I was right about that. Desmond Bane, on the other hand, to be honest, I thought what Desmond is doing right now this season is what he'd be doing a couple of years from now, but I guess that makes sense being that he's like a 3-year college player. But yeah, Desmond Bane, he's like at 16 points per game on really good efficiency, playing good defense, not just being a three-point shooter, also creating off of the dribble, creating from mid-range, getting passes here and there. Just good. Like the more well-rounded aspects of his game outside of just being a 3-and-D player were things that I expected to take a minute to come around, but he's kind of doing it already, so that's really fucking cool. Now that Wood is the only big in the starting lineup for Houston, the team will be much better offensively, and because of that, will not be by far the worst team in the league. They might be better than OKC, the Pels, and the Pistons. I would also throw the Spurs in there. I mean, they are on a 3-game win streak, or at least they might have played yesterday and I missed it, but yeah, 3-game win streak, so that's definitely fair. Christian Wood is a very interesting and unique player as a pick and roll guy and really just an interior finisher, period. And I think just getting a second defender in the paint by having Daniel Tice down low, or him attempting to stretch the floor but not really being good at it, I think that definitely just made offense easier for everybody involved. Christian Wood is now a go-to option again. He's been struggling this year because just not able to get into the paint to the way that he has previous. So him playing center, even though there's going to be some defensive hits there, the team was already shit defensively, but now you're at least pretty good offensively. So I do agree that the Rockets are going to be better than their start. They might still finish with the worst record because they started off 16-1, but yeah, they might not finish as the worst team in the league now that they've made that adjustment. Also, play Sengun more. That guy's really fucking good. Steph has a comparable peak to Kobe, and they are not that far apart on all-time rankings, at least not as much as people think. Well, I believe I have Kobe anywhere from like 5 to 8, depending on when you ask me. I think there's a subsection of players that are just really, really close. And Steph at like 12 or 11, something like that. So sure, I guess you want to argue they're not that far apart in that regard. I'll give you that. But yeah, Steph, his peak, honestly, probably pretty fucking close. I'd say they're right neck and neck because Steph the better offensive player, Kobe a significantly better defensive player. And that's not a knock on Kobe's offense. I think Steph is the best offensive player of all time, period. So yeah, I do think their peaks are close. This is a weird conversation for me to weigh in, being that those are my 2 favorite players of all time. But I do think it's fair to say that Steph's peak is as good as Kobe's, and dare I say, potentially even better. That said, Kobe had a lot longer of a peak. Kobe was a superstar player from 2002 to 2013. So, all right, more like 2001. So like a decade, whereas Steph has been a superstar player for 6 years, though he might actually get there eventually. So as of right now, Steph definitely lower all time, but peak for peak, I can see an argument for them being right next to each other. That might piss people off, but whatever. They're my two favorite players of all time, so it's not like I have bias against one or the other. Frank Vogel would be fired, but that will not change nothing. Weird wording on that, but yes, I don't think firing Frank Vogel is the solution for the Lakers, even though I do believe there have been some very questionable coaching decisions by him. That said, if the Lakers continue to be like the 20th best defense in the league, then probably you actually should fire Frank, because the thing is that he's not a good offensive coach, but he's just a fantastic defensive coach. But if with Anthony Davis, you're not churning out at least a top 10 defense, at a certain point, what are you bringing to the table as a coach if the one thing you're good at is not good with the team? But ultimately, I don't think a coaching change is the solution to the Lakers right now. Terry Rozier has underrated handle, some of the best in the league behind Kyrie and Steph. I absolutely agree with this. Terry Rozier is a very interesting player. Like, I don't know how to describe what I'm trying to describe here, but like the way that he elevates into his jump shot, the way he moves with his handle, it's all very satisfying and smooth and results in him just being a really talented scorer. I've caught a lot of Hornets games with Terry Rozier on the roster, and he's just fun to watch. And he had a crazy like Sham God move the other day that was all over Twitter. It was like a week ago actually, but the guy has really fucking good handle, and he has a really good pull-up jumper, so the guy is prone to just really nice scoring performances as a result of that. And Terry Rozier overall, I would say, is underrated. I was very wrong about his contract. I made a video at the time being like, what the hell are the Hornets doing? Turns out signing a really good player for just $20 million a year. So what do I know? The Bulls' ceiling is limited by having Vucevic at center due to his potential to be exploited on defense. I am so fucking tired of this shit. I am making a deep dive on reputation and how reputation can supersede the actual truth of basketball. And one of those reputations that is bullshit is Nikola Vucevic being a bad defensive player. Nikola Vucevic has his moments where he's not great defensively, but the guy is not a bad defensive player. He really never has been, and he especially hasn't been this year, where in the defensive scheme the Bulls have been running, he has been utilized as the guy who steps up in the pick and roll, and he's not really dropping. And when he is dropping, it's like in a way that kind of takes away the negative. And also specifically because the Bulls have so many great defensive wings and guards, the drop is not really that much of a negative. Drop coverage has a little bit too much of a negative perception because a lot of the time it's guards and wings fucking up their assignment, and then it's blamed on the big man for dropping. But Vuce has been really good defensively this year. He's been playing passing lanes. He's been a good job of stepping up while also managing to cover the roll man. He's not been bad defensively, and he's probably been the best defensively that he has ever been. He's not the most physical in the paint. He's not going to block a ton of shots. He's not going to make a lot of fancy defensive plays. He's not going to lock up Steph Curry on the perimeter, but he's in the right place at the right time, solid enough, and he's really not all that exploitable. And the Bulls defense has been really good. So I don't know what the fucking issue is. I'm tired of this. Reputation can just be it can hinder like what is actual reality in basketball. In reality, Nikola Vucevic, solid defender. Reputation, he's a garbage defender. It's not true. Moving on. Emmanuel quickly is already the best point guard on the Knicks. Yeah, I will say for the decision made by the Knicks to bench Kemba Walker, I was surprised that they put Alec Burks in the starting lineup, because it feels like to me Emmanuel quickly should be getting that spot, because not only do I think he's been better than Alec Burks, but he's also more of a point guard, more of a ball handler, more of a playmaker. But yeah, he's really good. He's probably better than Derrick Rose, or at the very least in a similar tier, and then he's definitely better than Kemba Walker, who has like one of the worst net ratings in the league. So, yeah, shout out to Emmanuel quickly, because that guy is a fucking bucket. When you look at the competition Kobe faced rounds 1 through 4 on his playoff runs, it really is a cut above everyone else in how consistently elite the teams he faced were round to round. Also, I'd say this bolsters his resume to be at least top 5, and that he is currently underrated. As I said, my top ranking with Kobe. My ranking with Kobe can go anywhere from like 5 to 8, depending on when you ask me. With that said, I do agree that this is an underrated element of Kobe's career, where to make 7 finals appearances out of that Western Conference is kind of absurd. Now, granted, he was the second best player on 3 of those finals, or 4 of those finals appearances. Actually, we'll say 3. 2004, Kobe was better than Shaq at that point. But and that's an underrated aspect of that duo, is that if that duo had continued to exist, Shaq would not have been the main guy for very long. He would, if they went past 2004, it would have been Kobe, and then Shaq was the second option, kind of from then on out. With that said, regardless, making the finals as much as he did, and if you look at his runs to win the 2 championships that he did, those are some of the most impressive runs in league history, because they played like 3 or 4 50-win teams for both of those championships, and that's a fucking lot. So yeah, shout out to Kobe, who ended up being a bigger topic of this video than I anticipated. But yeah, that is it. Goodbye.